Hey guys, it's Tessa. I believe this is going to be the first video of 2026. I am filming it in December, starting filming it in December, because as the title implies, this is going to be the official, season 1, episode 1 of stash busting, because as you can kind of see, I do have this whole wall of yarn behind me. And I also have a mountain of yarn falling here that you can sort of see. I also have a box of yarn in front of me, and I have another box of yarn in my closet. This is too much fucking yarn for a single person to own. And YouTube's not gonna like that I just swore, and I don't really care. I just own too much yarn. And as I kind of noted in my buy van video, I'll add it up here. But as I noted in that video, I am kind of getting to a place with my yarn where, one, I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed just looking at it. Like, just having it in the background here is as a visual, is overwhelming to me. Two, I do want to focus on more quality over quantity type of things. For example, with that, my whole top shelf here, these 3 cubbies, you can't really see them very well, but they're all of what I call my fancy yarn. Okay, really that just means either it's natural fiber that I know I'm using, or it's typically yarn for myself or for a project for my husband. Like I kind of talked about, I have Drops Daisy up there for my otter sweater for my husband. I have all of my Malabrigo, which is not much, up there. I have all my drops in general up there, but I have 5 or 6 projects worth of yarn in these cubbies here that are all made with 100% wool or some sort of natural fiber content. Most of that yarn has plants, which is really good. However, the rest of this yarn here in these 4 rows, you can't see the 4th row because it's covered in yarn. Anyway, for those 4 rows, that was yarn I was mostly using for my business, for things like my cardigans I make or anything else I make. These 2 cubbies here are all of my plushie yarn. So it's things like Chanel Home Slim, it's Sweet Snuggles Light, it's Big Twist Posh, it's Michael's version of Posh called Demi Pearl. I have too much yarn. Moral of the story, too much yarn. And as the video, as the title mentions, my first step here in assessing how much yarn I have, how much I'm going to be able to get through, and what I'm doing with all of it, is I need to catalog it all. I created a spreadsheet a long time ago, back when we lived in our old studio apartment, where I was planning to use that originally as kind of my library almost of all of my yarn, because I didn't have this guy. I had something similar to it, but it was much smaller at the time, so I was able to see all my yarn pretty easily, and I also knew I literally don't have the space for more yarn, so I cannot buy more yarn. Since moving to this apartment, that out the window. I don't know why. That idea was just out the window. I'll make space. No. So game plan to start here is I'll include a little visual of my spreadsheet here. It covers several items for me that will help me. Additionally, when I first created this spreadsheet, pulling it up for myself for reference, but when I first created this spreadsheet, I did not have a food scale or anything. I didn't have a food scale or anything, so it was mostly going off of vibes on the amount of yarn I had. I have a scale that can measure in grams, which, bone apple teeth, I recommend having that. So I'm kind of gonna follow the Retro Claude method here. I know she did not coin this method. I've just been watching her for a long time, and I'm calling it the Retro Claude method, okay? Bite me. But essentially, what I'm going to do is plug in the yarn type, the colorway, which, excuse me, not the yarn type. It's gonna start with the brand, the yarn type, the colorway, the fiber content, the grams per skein, the yards per skein, the grams per yard. Walk with me, okay? This is gonna sound crazy. The grams per yard, and it also includes the cost of the yarn itself. So as you can see on the little section I'm showing you here for the first 2 yarns, I've already kind of plugged in some information just to kind of get an idea what this will look like for me. So for example, for like Soft Classic from Loops and Threads, which is basically the only thing I use now, it is 100% acrylic, and each skein is 198 grams, and each skein has 354 yards. Now, if I switch my numbers a little bit, like let's say I have 0 of something, or I only have like 5 grams of it left, it will plug in its numbers. If I put 5, it'll plug in and spit out for me how many yards of that yarn it is, which is so helpful, so unbelievably helpful when it comes to making things. Just knowing exactly what quantity I have of a yarn, it just makes my life a million times easier. So I, today, am gonna get started on this and start cataloging. I'm terrified, but I think it'll be easy once I get going, especially on some of these yarns where like I haven't used any of the skeins yet, or any of the yarn from the skeins yet. So it really is just me copy pasting what's on the label and then noting the colorway. Simple as that. Let's get started. I know I said that I was gonna start cataloging my yarn a couple days ago. I haven't, because it's really, honestly, a really daunting task, but I kind of have a game plan now, which really just means I'm gonna go one cubby at a time and probably do like just a couple a night. I think, I don't know. I'm gonna start with the lightest cubby, I guess, and that's gonna be the orange in this top corner here. It's my orange and red. I just don't have very much orange and red of my fancy yarn, so we'll start there. Alrighty, so I think when we last spoke, I had mentioned, honestly, I don't remember when we last spoke, but I was feeling very scared, tears on the right word, anxious to start addressing the stash. But good news, I've gotten through the first 3 cubbies. So all my fancy yarn up here, done. Done. I know, round of applause, I appreciate it. Next is the scary cubbies. As you can see, my green shelf here, it's exploding at the moment. There's so much yarn in that shelf that it's literally pushing the cubby guy off the wall. So, I think I'm gonna deal with that cubby last. That's not true. I think, okay. My smart move here, so this camera's reversed for you guys, but you can see that like my desk lines up with these sections of rows. So I think what I'm gonna do each time, because it's hard for me to get to those rows, is for each row, column. That column's hard for me to reach. But I think for each cubby in that column, I'm gonna start on that column, or start on that cubby in that row, and work my way back closer to me, just to make my life a little bit easier. Plus, I know I have the least amount of yarn in the pink-red cubby and the big plushy cubbies. There's 2 of them. You can't even see the second one because this project's in the way. But there's 2 big fluffy plushy yarn cubbies. So we're gonna start with the pinks. It looks crazy. I think it's manageable though. Then go to orange, yellow, and then hopefully address the greens. I think today, I just finished the 3rd cubby, the one directly above me that you can't see very well. I just finished that cubby today. I think I'm gonna do one more today and proceed accordingly. Hopefully, so I'm filming this the 20th right now of December. I am gonna have a very chaotic week because of some of the stuff I do for my job. I do a lot of our payroll like reminders and notifications, and because Christmas falls on a Friday this year, or a Thursday, whatever it is, we have Thursday, Friday off. So I need to do all of my Thursday, Friday work on Wednesday, push all my Wednesday work to Tuesday, and get as much work done Tuesday because Mondays are already the busiest day of the week for me. So I'm hoping Christmas Day, because my husband and I aren't doing anything, I'll just be able to pound out whatever's left of these cubbies. I think that's gonna be my main goal, is just getting through as much of this as possible, so that it's no longer a problem that I need to deal with. So it's been a few days. As you can see, it's looking cute. Also, finished a new cardigan. What do you think? Do we like it? Is it cute? I should have a whole video posted about this cardigan, so I do recommend checking the cards up here or just looking it up. I'm calling this for the forbidden cardigan at the moment just because of how angry the original design made me. I just didn't want to look at it or deal with it ever again. So it was forbidden. Anyway, So I got through the green. As you can tell, the green is still spilling out, but it's better. It's better now. I've also made an executive decision on exactly which yarns I'm cataloging here. Originally, I was going to do all of my yarns, so Fancy that you can see up there, my Primaria acrylics for my business, my plush yarn, all of that was going to be cataloged. I think what will be a better use of my time and cataloging is just including my Fancy yarn and my Primary yarns, so my acrylics here. For these plush yarns, I don't use them very often. I don't buy them very often. At this point, I'm just going to burn through them. I plan to make a bunch of rubber ducks for this year, and then just probably have them discounted so I get them out of my inventory quickly. At this point, I just don't want to deal with them. I don't want to look at them. I don't want them around. Also, ignore how crazy my table is at the moment. It's 2 days past Christmas, and things are a little chaotic. All right. I love this cardigan. Again, check out the video I made on this. I've literally worn this since it finished blocking nonstop. But yeah, so all I have left to catalog then by this new executive decision is the blue row, which is gonna have the exact same problem as the green row, where there's just too much. I've also started including, I'll see if I can show you, but I've started including, you can see it a little bit, all of my 1 pounds or my Caron cakes, or not my Caron cakes, my Caron 1 pounds, my pound of love, anything that is a pound of yarn, that's going up top. It don't fit in a cubby, okay? I've got 2 greens that don't fit in the cubby, and then I've also got a yellow that doesn't fit in the orange and yellow cubby. I thought I had a red. I think I do. I think it's under this pile of whips. If I'm being completely honest, I think it's under the pile of whips next to me. That's also part of the reason I'm doing this cataloging as well, is I need to figure everything out. I need to figure out all the whips I have. I need to figure out what exactly, like I got, what do I got going on? All right, I think that's kind of just what I'm figuring it out here. Yeah, I just have 2 cubbies left. So I have the blue, and then I have the gray and white, which is gonna be a lot easier, I feel. Technically, I have this cubby here you can't see very well, because that's where all my black yarn used to be held. I'm gonna reorganize that a bit. One, I don't have a lot of open black yarn at the moment, like I just don't have a lot. I need to buy more. But I'm gonna buy it. It's so sad. Check out that video too. But I have a couple skeins of black in there. I have my specialty yarn, which is like faux fur yarn, things like that. I have a Bernat blanket in there just because it's black and it fit in the cubby and doesn't fit in the other plush cubbies. I'm still gonna organize the plush cubbies, just not catalog them. And then I also have the brown and purple cubby here. So I've got a brown cubby you can't really see. It's my browns, tans, creams, taupes, all that. And then I have a purple cubby, which you can't see as well. It's all my purples, some pinkish purples like magentas or orchids are there. And then I have this other catch-all cubby for all of my worsted weight yarn, so my acrylics. I need to just go through and figure out what's in there, honestly, at this point, and just pull it out, figure it out, deal with it. But that is kind of our current update for now. I have not been working on this pretty much at all. I think the last day I filmed this was a couple days before Christmas even. I've kind of developed a weird habit when it comes to like having things. Like I'm very much a maximalist person. Like I like having a lot of stuff. I don't like having an empty house because then I feel like my house isn't mine. But there's also a very fine line between maximalist and slightly teetering into hoarder territory. Which I've been teetering into that. Personally, I feel like I've been teetering into that for a while now. That's another reason I'm on this buy ban, is just I feel like I'm turning a little bit into a hoarder, or at least maybe I'm not becoming a hoarder, but it's more a thing of I'm not using my yarn fast enough or my crafts fast enough, and I keep buying faster than I can use. And that's what's causing me to have these feelings. But because of my weird feelings towards cleaning in general and keeping things organized, I have a lot of anxiety directly around putting things away, essentially. So like having my whip pile here is very like internally stressful for me. One, it's not that deep. It's a pile of whips. They're gonna get completed eventually. But because of, you know, some stuff I dealt with growing up as well, it's really hard for me to just be okay with the whips being there. And so when all of these cubbies are all chaotic, like the plush one right here, it looks insane. So when it's situations like that, I have a lot of feelings towards it, and I have a lot of feelings of like dread almost towards it. So it's a little bit hard for me too disorganized just to clean things because of those feelings. I've gotten a lot better about it over the years, but my yarn wall has always been a problem. Literally it's always been a problem. If you look at my older videos where I have the wall that's only like yay tall, it's a problem, all right? Like it's always been a problem of some sort. But yeah, so that's where we're at. I probably won't work on this again for another couple days, to be honest. I'm just not really feeling it, but that's fine. Yeah, that's our update for now. Truthfully, what I might do is I might just start going cubby by cubby and not checking in each time. So the next time we check in might be when all these cubbies are organized, and we can talk about my yarn stash and how much yarn I own, which I'm so scared about that number, I won't lie. These 1 pounds, I believe, count as like 4 or 5 skeins. It might even count as more than that. I don't know. I'll do the math later and find out, obviously. But that's our update for now. That's where we're at. Here we are. So it's been a few days since we spoke last. I got through all of the remaining shelves. You can kind of see a little bit, not really, because most of the shelves are all below this wall. Anyway, so I figured out my total, and it's insane. So let's talk about this. I think I mentioned in the last clip, or one of the last clips, that I didn't catalog all of my yarn. I only cataloged my worsted weight acrylic, or my worsted weight in general, and then my specialty yarn up here, or my special yarn at the top shelves here. I skipped over my Bernat, my Chanel, any plushy yarn, skipped over that, and I also skipped over any faux fur yarn because it's just a little bit difficult to catalog that, especially when I don't have labels for everything, so I'd be guessing a little bit on what the yarn is. But we have our total. So, in total weight of just that yarn alone, the total weight of all of that yarn together is 22,142.5, which sounds insane. And when we do a little more math to figure out how many 50-gram balls this is, it's 442, almost 443. Yeah, so that's awful. I don't know. I didn't realize that my stash was that bad. But going through all of these cubbies and how literally almost all of them are overflowing or like packed really tight, like the blue cubby's packed really tight. Same thing with the green cubby and the orange and yellow cubby, all packed really tight. Same thing with the grays that are packed tight. It kind of explains why I have so much yarn. My new secondary problem though is my scrap yarn. I kind of need to start getting through that because I have a bag of it and that's been overflowing for like 6 months. So that's a new problem I need to approach and deal with, which I'm kind of approaching, kind of dealing with it. I just haven't worked on the thing in a while. But this is really reflective, maybe? I don't know. This is just a lot more yarn than I thought it was, if I'm being completely honest. Like I don't think I really processed that like your standard Loops and Threads Soft Classic is almost 4 50-gram balls. And for those of you who don't use grams super often, so for those of you that don't use grams very often, this is a 50-gram ball. Now imagine 443 of these. That's a ton of yarn. It's a ton of yarn. I honestly don't even know really how to approach dealing with all of this yarn, if I'm being completely honest. Most of my fancy yarn, so the top 3 shelves, I have plans for, most of it. I'm gonna do a video on just some of the yarn I have up there that I don't necessarily have a plan for. Like I have some Plymouth Homestead, I believe that's what it's called. I have no fucking clue what I'm gonna do with that yarn. I only got it because we did a yarn swap with my knitting group and somebody brought it, and I'm basically a klepto with yarn. I was allowed to grab it. Klepto is just the best word to place there. This is crazy. Like, I don't even know what to say to this, really, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Additionally, if you calculate the total price of all the yarn I currently have, that brings us to $1,296. And again, that's not all of the yarn. That's all the yarn we're counting. Our total yardage is 46,211, which is, again, psychotic. I just feel, like, overwhelmed is not the word, because I don't feel overwhelmed about this. I just feel like this is crazy. I just did not think it was this much yarn. Well, okay, so as you'll see through the rest of this year, I have a lot of stash washing plans, and I think I'm gonna do like an overall video at the like midway point, or the end of each quarter. That's the English. And kind of maybe recalculate, re-see where I'm at with some of my yarn, and see how much damage we're doing. Again, most of the top 3 shelves I have plans for, except for a small selection of it. So hopefully if I can get through some of that, you know, we'll make some progress forward and we can go from there. I'm just baffled, I think. I really didn't think it'd be 440 something balls of yarn. And it also kind of makes me really want to reapproach how I go about purchasing yarn as well. Especially since buying yarn is kind of the one thing that I like I'm a consumerism for, is buying yarn usually. But that's also just because, like, it gives me that little satisfaction that I like. But I think I'm kind of learning about myself as well, is that I like making the things. I like having the items made. I think I like that feeling more than just purchasing the yarn feeling. So I'm really excited to see what this year brings. And I'm really excited to know when I can buy yarn again. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Subscribe if you want to follow me along with this. Leave a comment below if you are shocked, baffled, or anything like that towards my yarn stash. And if you have any comments, feelings, or anything to say, feel free to leave a comment below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.